Good afternoon everybody, it's Debbie Evans here and Rolo's with us, and also you can see behind me a rather strange looking little dog. It's actually a corgi, and this features in today's chapter from Book 5, Phoenix and the Dragonling, and this one's set in Windsor Great Park. This is actually one of Rolo's blogs. We have an outing to Windsor Great Park. This is a royal park populated with deer and open to the public. It is 29 miles west of London, and at its corner sits the iconic Windsor Castle, one of the Queen's royal residences. We come here from time to time as the smiley lady likes to visit friends in Windsor, and I've come to know all the best walks. I love it here because there are so many dogs to meet. Lucky dogs who live in this town are exercised in this amazing open space. The private road known as the Long Walk is open to pedestrians and a small number of cars. Only wardens of the Crown Estate who look after the Great Park, and occasionally members of the royal family, bypassing public roads from nearby Ascot through to Windsor. This private road features whenever there is a royal event of note at the castle, such as a wedding or the Royal Ascot horse races, as the carriages process along the 3-mile route. It appears that the Queen is at home today because the Royal Standard is flying proudly, fluttering in the breeze from the landmark round tower that is St George's Chapel. As you might expect, I run further than the smiley lady walks. That is, if she remembers to bring my ball thrower and tennis ball. Current favourite is the one that smells and tastes of the sea from a recent trip to the beaches of Northumberland. Anyway, on this particular day, I was running freely off my lead, greeting all the other Windsor dogs. We all sniffed each other politely while doing our square dances, nose to tail, in greeting. There are areas of the park where I have to be on my lead because of the deer, and these are clearly signposted. Even though I look nothing like the dog on the sign, the smiley lady complies. She also checks me thoroughly after a Windsor walk for ticks, not the sports brand logo, and not the mark of approval, but the small nasty biting bugs that attach themselves firmly to my fur and blow up like balloons as they feast on my blood. Anyway, on with the story. We went through a gate to one such restricted section, and the smiley lady tried to catch me to put my lead back on, but I just couldn't help myself. I spied a squirrel and gave chase. Pesky things. A big black car with a small flag on the bonnet approached very slowly along the road towards me, driving in the direction of the castle. The smiley lady nearly tripped over her own feet as she rushed forward to put a restraining hand on my harness. While she gripped me to stop me from running under the wheels of the car, she waved by means of apology to the solo driver. A flash of white teeth and a big smile, and I recognised Prince William, the Queen's eldest grandson, whom I've seen on television. He waved back at her and grinned at me. The smiley lady, oblivious to the identity of the driver, had got out her phone to answer a call and was walking on ahead of me. She didn't even notice the fact that the car had stopped after it had passed us. The driver's door opened and the unmistakable figure of Prince William stepped out. He opened the boot to release a bouncy black cocker spaniel. I hung back for a better look. The spaniel and I did our doggy square dance with our tails spinning like helicopter blades, and the 4-legged royal dog introduced himself as Lupo. The smiley lady missed all of this. I could see her striding on ahead, phone glued to her ear. Prince William bent down to polish a scuff mark off the paintwork of the car with his cuff. I had to start whining to be let out for a wee, as I thought I recognised you. You are Rolo, aren't you? Blurted out Lupo. We're staying in Windsor for a few days and we need your help. Come to the Copper Horse when you can get away. Send word. The spaniel spoke hurriedly with clipped vowels in a manner that suggested elocution lessons had been taken. A herd of deer were nonchalantly munching on the grass under the trees in the distance. Nothing disturbs their foraging, even the constant overhead roar of the airplanes from Heathrow's busy flight path. Lupo and I played that doggy game of I we, you we for a couple of minutes to cover up our conversation, and I nodded my assent, acting quite cool in the presence of royalty, I thought. It did occur to me afterwards that this was more of a summons than a request. I was wondering what the Copper Horse could be. A dog-friendly cafe, perhaps? Then I glanced along the straight road and realised Lupo was referring to the statue of George III on horseback that the Smiley Lady and I sometimes walk to when we're doing what she calls a big walk, as it's about 6 miles from the castle to the statue and back again. The Prince whistled, Lupo bounded back into the boot, the door slammed shut and the car rolled forwards, heading in the direction of the castle, and I was left sitting on the grass, basking in the glorious thought that my fame had spread right up to the royal family. Whatever could they possibly need my help for? They have dogs of their own. Ah yes, that might be the problem. The corgis. You may recall I encountered a couple of the Queen's pet dogs before on a previous adventure at Buckingham Palace. It didn't go well. The Smiley Lady put her mobile phone back in her coat pocket and called me. I ran towards her at once, smirking to myself as she'd just missed a royal photo opportunity. It also occurred to me that I could have left a poo in the royal park for all the notice she had taken whilst on her phone. We were staying with friends overnight in Windsor, and the next morning, being sunny and dry, we struck out on our big walk. An opportunity to speak to Lupo, but how to send him a message. I was off my lead, running freely. Not many dogs around this morning. A green woodpecker flew past, alighting on a lightning-struck tree that appeared to be very dead, but possibly still had bug life within it, making it a useful feeding station for the woodpecker, though not much use for anything else. Woodpeckers make that very strange laughing sound, swooping and dipping when they fly. It's called a yaffle. I'd learnt that from Yulia and Dar. Well, this woodpecker was yaffling quite a lot, and I went over to the tree for a closer look at this strange bird, and it spoke quite clearly to me. Lupo sent me. He wants to know when you can meet him. On my way to the Copper Horse now, about 40 minutes, I woofed. The bird nodded and took to the air at once. Rolo, stop barking, you've scared the woodpecker, shouted the Smiley Lady, who had her phone out and was hoping for a photograph. Missed again. Through another gated section of the park, lead on, and then lead off when we were clear of the deer, and then out the other side. When we reached the foot of the small hill where the statue was situated, the Smiley Lady reached for her phone to take a panoramic view of the castle. She was panting a bit from the exertion of the slight incline of the walk, and I knew we would rest here a while like we usually do. I scampered up the hill looking out for the black spaniel. My luck was in because I heard the familiar ringtone of a mobile phone. The Smiley Lady would be on a call for a while and unlikely to notice my disappearance. Lupo bounded over at once. Glad you could come, Rolo. Now look here, I'll cut straight to the chase. Knave, one of the corgis, has gone missing. My heart sank. This was the troublesome dog who gate-crashed one of my adventures in the 18th century, involving the attempted theft of the crown jewels, and he spent most of the time whinging that he was hungry. Where was he last seen? I asked, torn between feeling the importance of being entrusted with the search for the missing dog and not caring about his disappearance because I didn't like him very much. All the family is staying at the castle for a few days for Granny's birthday, and Myrtle said Knave was banging on about wanting a time tunnel in a tree and that he was going to find one of his own. Does that mean anything to you? Lupo asked. I feared the worst. Myrtle was the more sensible corgi of the pair I had previously met. Following a hunch, I asked Lupo if he knew of any ancient oak trees in Windsor Great Park. He said he'd find out and get back to me. I trotted downhill back to the Smiley Lady and wondered what had become of the foolish corgi, and thinking that Granny must be the Queen. Rolo, sit! Sit, Rolo! It appeared the Smiley Lady wanted me to pose in front of the Copper Horse. I obliged. So we're going to leave it there. I'm just going to show you Chantal's drawing of Rolo at the Copper Horse. And I don't know if you could see Rolo throughout my reading, but he is actually listening today. So I'm just going to show you in case you missed him. Rolo, there he is. Oh, whoops. Where are you, Rolo? There you are. Everybody wants to see you. And I think I've sent him to sleep with my chapter. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock with another reading. Thank you. Goodbye.